Welcome to the Hamsi Analytics Daily Market Commentary. I'm Pablo Navarro. Today is Friday, August 17, 2012. For the market internals, the New York Stock Exchange advanced decline differential closed at 690. Nasdaq advanced decline differential closed at 710. There were 42 new 52-week highs for the S&P 500 and no new 52-week lows for the S&P 500. Pretty solid action here on the market internals overall. For the volatility, we had 446,000 contracts traded on the VIX with 46 million in total premiums paid. For the dollar-weighted put-call ratio in August, we saw a 5.73, which is very bullish with 22% of the total premiums paid. For September, a 0.6, which is a neutral reading with 52% of the total premiums paid. And October, a 0.32 with 12% of the total premiums paid. This is a bearish reading. Here we have the daily chart for SPX. We continue to be on positive 1, positive 2 sigma channel. We closed today at 1418, up 2.65 points for the day. Pretty good week so far. And important that we continue to be on this channel we just mentioned about. Next target 1433 is going to be the positive 2 sigma channel. That's going to be the target on the upside for SPX. And we're looking for support on the 0 sigma at 1386. We could see here again CI is red but slope is slightly positive, which is good for the market, and CI diff is higher, which is also positive. On sigma channel width, the line is going higher, which means sigma channels are increasing, and as the market goes higher, which is good also. We're gonna look at the weekly chart. Here we have the weekly chart for SPX. We could see here we had this trend line drawn. We talked about maybe coming and test this trend line to the downside to get some pullback. It did not happen this week, but overall a pretty good week here, finishing at the highs of the week. And the next target on the weekly chart would be 1432. Pretty similar to the daily chart, so pretty solid target here. Again, we're looking here also for the height of the year. We need to get some positive action next week. It's gonna be a critical week to see what happens on the market. On the downside, the trend line here for next week would be around 1380. That's also our 0 sigma on the daily chart. Some confluence here on the weekly and daily levels. Very important levels to watch next week. For CI on SPX, it's positive and rising. Pretty good. On the weekly chart, of course, we have not come to a red point. We're pretty close, but not yet. And the slope is positive, so it's good. For CI, we continue to increase momentum to the upside, which is positive. And sigma channel width is still flat here. Next chart we're gonna look at SPY to get some targets. Start here with the weekly chart for SPY. We crossed 142, closed at 142.18, and now we're looking here on SPY weekly for 143.30. 143.30 is gonna be our next target on the weekly chart. Pretty tight volatility here, but we're looking for taking out the highs of the year. CI turned here pretty good, and now we're positive and rising. Very good action here. Same for CI diff. Market continues to be strong. Our downside support would be at 136. That's 0 sigma on the weekly chart. Very important level to watch there. And if we are able to have a pullback and come and test this level, it is going to be critical to hold this 136 level. For the weekly chart. For the daily chart now, we're on the positive 1, positive 2 sigma channel. We continue to ride this channel upward, which is good. Our next target would be 143.77. That is positive 2 sigma on the daily chart. On the downside, we're looking for 138.80. That's 0 sigma on the daily chart. That would be our support here in the shorter term if we're not looking at the weekly chart. For CI, we are red and with positive slope, which is good. Looks like we are going to continue rising, but again, we have come a long way. Maybe here it's time to take either a break, maybe come and digest the highs that we're making, and get some volume back into the market. CI diff continues to be green and positive territory. Very good here. And as we mentioned, SCW Sigma channel width is increasing as the market goes higher, which is good here, expanding the Sigma channels. Now we're gonna go to check GLD chart. Let's start here with the weekly chart for gold. Here you could see how compressed volatility are on the weekly chart Sigma channel. Basically flat. This is a very low period. We had one here, and after that the gold just exploded and went through a pretty good breakout. Here we're gonna have to watch and wait. Either we're gonna have a breakdown, pretty important levels of support here. Maybe if we break those levels to the downside, we could get some selling pressure, or if we break out and maybe come and test the highs that we've made here for gold around these levels. Very important here how CI is bottoming now. Looks like CI has bottoms, trying to turn positive and go higher. That's one thing, but as Sigma channel are so tight, better to watch this range and let it break out and play itself and then get into the trade. CI diff is positive and it's been here for a couple of weeks, but again, as I mentioned, we are in a pretty tight volatility range on the Sigma channels. We closed just at 0 Sigma again. We wanted to confirm last week's breakout of 0 Sig on the weekly chart. Basically we did nothing here, flat to a red, so not much of a confirmation. And the levels we're watching here on the Sigma channels for the weekly chart are 159 on the positive 1 Sigma, and then a breakout for 161.5. That would be 159 1 Sigma and 161.5 positive 2 Sigma. On the downside, we're looking for 153.70 and 151. If we do get to 151, we do have some very strong resistance around 149, 150, a quadruple bottom on the daily chart. We're gonna look at it right now. Here we have the daily chart. We were flat today, nothing happening, and we continue to make a consolidation pattern here on a very tight range so far. The levels we're watching on the daily chart are 158.30. That's positive 2 Sigma, and we do want to break that to the upside to break this high that we made here, and even to try to break this range to the upside. If we are able to get above that level, we're probably gonna have strong resistance at 160, which is the 200-day moving average for GLD. On the downside, we're looking for 153.50s and then 152.30s. Those are the positive negative 2 Sigma and negative 3 Sigma. Again, pretty tight range here on gold. No much of a trade, maybe some credit trades here, but not much here of a trend following trade. Just let it develop either to the upside or downside and then get into the trade. You could see how collapsed Sigma channel width is here on the down yellow line. Last chart we're gonna look is the VIX. We have here the weekly chart for the VIX. You could see how many weeks we have been a red bar. We have been breaking lower and lower. Today we closed at 1345. Pretty low levels here on the VIX. This does not mean that we are close to a top. You get a lot of commentaries about that. It just means that the volatility of the intraday action is just smaller. The range are gonna be tighter, but it does not mean that we are near a top or at a top here. For some targets on the VIX, we're looking for that. We're pretty low right now, but if we do get lower, we're looking here for 1240. 12 is the negative 2 Sigma on the weekly chart, and we are on a negative slope here on CI, which looks like we may be heading there. On the upside, we want to get to 15, 16, and even pop to 17. Those are pretty good levels here on the VIX. Nothing of a panic. We do not want to go above 20. For the daily chart to see what happened to the VIX today, the VIX was down almost 6%. We continue to ride this negative to negative 1 sigma channel as we talked about. We have been riding it for a couple of weeks now, and it looks like our target on the daily chart would be 1250. We're gonna see what happens there. And on the upside, we're looking at 0 sigma at 1650. We have a special offer by TradeStation. Get your Hamsi Analytics proprietary indicators paid by TradeStation. Contact Active Traders office in Chicago, Peter Albino, at the number listed below. Have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you Monday.